Hey everyone, so my Ubiquiti adventure continues. In this video, I'd like to talk about the Ubiquiti Flex Mini 2.5G. This is an affordable switch that costs around 50 bucks, it's around £50 here in the UK, and it can be considered a basic switch or a utility switch. It's got 5 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, and the last port is PoE in. So this is not a power over Ethernet switch, but you can power it up using a PoE connection. Alternatively, you can use a USB Type-C connection. Only takes 5 watts to power this up. So you can see it's a very small switch. You can see the dimensions there, but it's quite a flexible switch. And I think it's one that a lot of people will like. Now, this is very different to the last switch that I reviewed. In the last video, I spoke about the USW aggregation switch. And that Ubiquiti switch is a shallow 1U switch that can handle a lot of traffic, and it's handling all the traffic in my home network. It quite literally is the heart of my network. The Flex Mini is obviously different. This is not designed to be at the heart of a big network, but it's very useful. At the moment, I've got it sitting on top of my QNAP switch, and I have one device connected just now. I've got a Linux crypto validator, but that crypto validator is not using a lot of bandwidth, but it's running 24/7 using like between 10 and 20 megabits per second. In the future, I will be connecting 2 or 3 other devices. I have tested it with my Xbox and latency, etc. was fine, but at the moment I've got that connected through the QNAP switch directly because I've got 3 ports. But yeah, from a latency point of view, it seems good. From a traffic perspective, it's good for me as well. It's handling everything that I need. And that's the way that I'm viewing this. It's not going to be the most powerful switch in my network, but it's filling a gap. And in this office, I'll connect Raspberry Pis and different things. But in the future, I might move it or buy a second one and have one of them down in my living room area next to my TV and games consoles, etc. So that is a useful switch, and I think it's one that a lot of people will like. Now, if you go over here, we can have a look at specifications, and you'll see, I'll leave a link to this so you can look through it yourself, but you'll see that it's got a switching capacity of 25 gigabits per second, non-blocking is half that, forwarding rate of 19 megabits per second, and you can see some other features here: port isolation, port mirroring, jumbo frames, loop protection, etc. Now, one thing I will say, I mean, this is for all products, but especially if you're looking at Ubiquiti products, is that when Ubiquiti lists the specifications for one of the products, you'll notice that it doesn't say what is missing. So this switch, for example, it doesn't have PoE pass-through, it doesn't have link aggregation, etc. So what I recommend is you compare a switch that you're looking to buy, such as the Flex Mini 2.5G, and you compare it against a product you own, or perhaps a medium and a high level alternative. So if I type in USW aggregation that I own, you can then start to see the limitations more clearly. Now, the most obvious one is that this doesn't have any 10G connections, RJ45 or SFP+. It would have been amazing if there was one SFP Plus connection there. But when you go down, you can start to see that it doesn't have port aggregation. It doesn't have IGMP snooping, MAC-based ACLs and device isolation, DHCP snooping and guarding. There's a few other things here, MAC address blocking, etc. So there are some limitations with this switch as far as restricting access, restricting ports, etc. Doesn't have voice VLAN. And these become more apparent when you do a comparison. So I encourage you, if you're interested in this switch, look at the sales page, look at the specifications, but also do a comparison against other switches. And if you're still not sure what this is lacking or whether this, this device will do what you need it to do, go onto the Unifi, the Ubiquiti community, go into the discussion forum and just ask what it's missing. Although Ubiquiti market the switch as the Flex Mini 2.5G, their eco-friendly box calls it the Switch Flex 2.5G-5. In the box you will find the switch, a power adapter and a small user guide. The user guide doesn't really tell you anything beyond providing a QR code for the full installation guide, and that guide doesn't say much beyond advising you to download the Unifi app to your phone. I appreciate the Flex Mini 2.5G is a simple network switch, but lack of documentation is something that still affects all Ubiquiti products. Here in the UK, Ubiquiti provide a two-prong EU power adapter, which is rated at 5 volts and 1 amp, for a total output of 5 watts. It's worth noting that this is a little less than the 6.4 watts max output that Power over Ethernet can provide. I purchased the Flex Mini 2.5G from Broadband Buyer in the UK. We always provide an EU to UK power adapter when you buy any Ubiquiti product, which is a nice gesture, but I'm not a big fan of those adapters as it's very easy for the cable to slip out. In the case of the Flex Mini 2.5G, this isn't a big problem as the switch can be charged via PoE and most Type-C cables, but I do wish Ubiquiti would start treating UK and Ireland customers better by providing the correct power adapter to us. Finally, we have the Flex Mini 2.5G itself. I must admit I love the look and feel of this switch. It has a simple design where all connections are on one side, with the PoE in port and Type-C power port both being placed at the right hand side. It truly is a lightweight switch. I weighed the switch in at only 208 grams, which is 7.3 ounces. As with all Ubiquiti devices, adoption is simple. Once you've connected the Flex Mini 2.5G to your network, you will see a message to adopt it in the Unifi app and in your Unifi dashboard. Simply click to adopt the device to start integrating the switch into your Ubiquiti network. So we're now in the dashboard for my Unifi network, and this will give you a good idea as to how I have integrated the Flex Mini 2.5G into my own local network. So if I zoom down, you'll get a better idea as to what's going on here. And I can click to show internet traffic. Always find this useful. I think it's a great little feature. So you can see that I've got my Vodafone fiber connection that goes to my Ubiquiti UCG fiber. That goes to my USW aggregation switch, which you can see visually is at the heart of my network. Everything goes through that. That goes from the ground floor of my house all the way up to my office in the top floor to my QNAP switch, which is down there. And you can see that the traffic is flowing into the USW-Flex-2.5G-5. Weird how they've got that named differently. And then that goes to my crypto validator. So you can see that there's a lot of traffic going through that. It's not a huge amount right now, actually, this time of day. It's between 2 and 10, I think, at the moment. It goes up and down. Sometimes it's up to 20 or over. But you can see that this is handling traffic really well. And it's like that all the time. This is handling traffic 24/7. So you can see how this is going through my home network from the UCG fiber to the UCW aggregation to my external non-Ubiquiti switch, the QNAP switch, into the USW Flex. And what's interesting for me for my own home network is that Ubiquiti kind of restricts what you can do with third-party products. So, for example, if I want to restrict access to a port or apply a certain profile, I can do that if it's connected to the UCG fiber or UCW aggregation, but not if it's connected directly to the QNAP switch. And that's where the USW Flex is so useful, because it means that if I connect something to the USW Flex instead of my QNAP switch, I can then apply certain profiles and put it into a DMZ and different things, put VPNs onto it, etc. It just gives me that extra level of control, which I lose when I use a non-Ubiquiti switch. Now, if we go to the Unified devices, you'll see how it's sitting on my home network. I hide myself there, you'll see all the traffic, etc. right now. And if we click on the USW Flex and I hide my face, you'll see at the right hand side what's going on. So we've got it's connected, it says the USW aggregation port 6 because that's what's connected to the QNAP switch. And if we go to the settings, you'll see some options here. I'm using global switch settings just now, but I can apply different options there if I wish. And if you go to the port manager, I'll bring myself back. When you go to the port manager, you'll see different options here as well. You can, apply different profiles to the ports, and you can click on a port and I can set it to switch or mirror. I can set the speed. I can apply an Ethernet port profile like that, Internet of Things, DMZ. I can port isolate, storm control, loop protection, egress, rate limit, etc. So in comparison to other Ubiquiti switches, which are more powerful, there are some options that are going to be missing from this area. But for my needs and for how I am using this is the perfect switch, because I'm just looking for some basic control, over some ports and some connections on this office, i.e. certain devices, I don't want them to access my local network. I want them to be using a particular profile, etc. But you can see there that it's really simple to manage this, and it's really simple to see how it's working within your own network. So yeah, this is a good example of how you can manage any Ubiquiti switch on your home network and how you can use it to see what's going on, a kind of high level view of your home network. I hope you've all enjoyed learning about the Ubiquiti Flex Mini 2.5G, which Ubiquiti also call the Switch Flex 2.5G-5. Now, as with all of my videos, all of my product reviews, I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope you take what I've said in, but don't take everything I've said as gospel. I'm just speaking from experience. Do your own research, look at other reviews and look at other comments from other Ubiquiti users. And that's exactly what I did before I bought this. Now, I didn't see a lot of criticism about this particular model myself, but there was a lot of comments about the predecessor, the gigabit version of the Flex Mini. And a lot of people said that there was disconnection issues. Now, I'm sure a lot of people faced that before, but I expect those issues have been resolved with a firmware software update. I've not seen any issues like that myself, and I can only talk about my own experience. And my own experience is that this is a 5-port switch and I'm using 2 of the ports and I'm not really pushing it. As you saw there, this had a lot of bandwidth capacity, in the tens of gigabits per second, and I'm running 0 to 20 megabits per second. But what I will say is that I am running a Linux computer 24 hours a day through this. And in the last 5 or 6 weeks, the log alert system that I've got set up for that computer has reported 0 downtime, not even a second. The only downtime that I've experienced with this was when I was applying a firmware update and I had to update. So I've not had any downtime at all during my usage of this over the last month or so. So, for my needs, I'm really, really happy with it. As I noted earlier, yes, I might move it down to the living room, but I think I'll probably just pick up another one. Now, I did talk about limitations earlier in the video, and I do think that if you compare this to the more expensive, larger, more powerful Ubiquiti switches, this does lack some features, but you have to take it into context because there's a lot of cheap 5-port network switches which are, half the price of this, but they lack a lot of features which this does have, like profiling and port isolation, etc. So take all of that into consideration. So thanks for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you've got any questions, please do post them down below in the comment area. But until next time, take care.